What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to InvestQ. And today I got an interesting video as we're going to be covering a stock we have talked about frequently known as Castellum CTM, because we did have some pretty interesting price action yesterday towards the end of the trading day as we were trading around 63 cents, and then there was heavy buying activity as we shot up to 70 cents, but we did not hold that. The buying activity did not carry over into the next day, and we did come back down to 65 cents. And there are investors, shareholders of Castellum CTM, that are frustrated, just throwing their hands up in the air thinking, man, the momentum's over. I'm frustrated. I knew that wasn't going to hold. While the buying activity did not carry over into the next day in the short term, I do want to emphasize that, in my opinion, that's not the bigger story that I would be paying attention to. And you can approach investing however you want to, but again, we talk about on this channel a lot that the bigger story is always what's going on behind the scenes when you look at the underlying business of any company, and that's especially important to take into consideration as we get closer to the Q2 earnings report. And speaking of the Q2 earnings report, I have been doing some research on some due diligence that came from another investor, or not just another investor. People in the Discord community know very well Mo, as he is the creator of the Discord community, as he gave a little preview of the Q2 2026 earnings report for Castellum CTM. And he also did post this on Reddit as well, so you can feel free to check that out. I'll have the links to the Discord below and the link to that Reddit post as well, but honestly, I don't even need to give the Reddit post link because it's all right here on the video anyways. But I came across several things that are worth discussing if I did some research. And I want to make one thing very clear, is that what I'm about to talk about is directly from Castellum's public filings and announced contracts, and other parts that I'm going to be discussing are the opinions of investors' expectations heading into earnings. So those are two completely different things, and it's important to not confuse the two. So I want to first start off with something that newer investors might misunderstand. And winning a government contract does not mean Castellum immediately books all of that money as revenue right then and there. That's not how it works, but instead, revenue gets recognized as the company actually performs the work. And again, just dumbing it down and making it very simple to understand is, when you hire a contractor to build your house, you don't hand them the entire payment on day one. You pay them as milestones get completed, and government contracts work very similarly. So when Castellum wins these large contracts, that creates future work. Then, as engineers perform the work, invoices are submitted, payments come in, and that's when revenue starts showing up on the income statement. And that's one reason why many investors are excited heading into Q2, because several of Castellum's largest contracts are still relatively early in their execution, meaning there may still be plenty of revenue left to recognize going forward. Speaking of that, the $23.1 million Paratone contract, this is tranche 5, stated right here. He made another post about this recently, not too long ago. If you scroll up in the Discord community, again, link below. But if you have followed Castellum for a while, you've probably heard the name that Corvus Consulting LLC. I'll also put a link to the website below so that you can do your own research. And also, I'll put this link there as well for more information. Again, I want everybody to do their own research on anything I cover. But nevertheless, as you are aware of, if you've been following Castellum CTM, Corvus Consulting LLC is Castellum's subsidiary, and recently Corvus received a $23.1 million subcontract under Paratone as part of the Information Advantage Enterprise program. Now, why investors are paying attention is that award happened on the last day of the first quarter, which means there was very little time, if any, for meaningful revenue from that contract to show up during Q1. Because remember, revenue isn't recognized when the contract is announced, it's recognized when the work actually is completed. So naturally, many investors believe that a larger portion of that contract could begin contributing during Q2 and beyond. And again, I want to make it clear that that's an expectation, not a guarantee, but it's one reason people are watching this earnings report closely. Now, regarding what Corvus actually does, again, if you just go on their website, you can just do your own research. But breaking down with the research that I found through my time investing in Castellum CTM and learning about the Corvus Consulting, which is the subsidiary of Castellum. Again, starting off, the same way that I broke down in that previous video before when I first started researching into Castellum CTM roughly 18 to 24 months ago. Roughly, when I was researching Corvus, when I first heard about it, I knew that Corvus was a cybersecurity company, but I didn't fully appreciate just how specialized they are. They're not fixing office computers and they're not building websites. They're helping support some of the US military's most advanced cyber and electronic warfare missions. And that includes organizations like Army Cyber Command, also the NSA, the Department of Navy, the Air Force, Space Force, and other cyber mission partners. That's some very high level work. And one area Corvus works in is cyber warfare. That includes defensive cyber operations. Think about protecting US military computer systems from foreign hackers. And they are building secure infrastructure, they're finding vulnerabilities, and they're stopping cyber attacks before they happen. But they also support offensive cyber capabilities, meaning developing technology that can help disrupt an adversary's communications or computer systems during military operations. Quick reminder before we continue, if you're enjoying the content and want to connect with the community, check out the first link below for the free InvestQ community. And if you want access to advanced stock research and tools, the second link is a Prophecy 7-day trial for just $7. And last, if you want daily market updates and behind the scenes content, follow me on Instagram using the third link in the description. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, another fascinating area that I want to cover is electronic warfare, because modern wars aren't fought using only bullets anymore. They're also fought using invisible signals. They're fought using radar, GPS, satellites, military radios, wireless communications, and Corvus develops technologies that help protect US communications while disrupting an enemy's ability to communicate. That could include things like jamming enemy radar, protecting friendly signals, or supporting cyber electromagnetic operations. And it's another reminder that today's battlefield looks very different than it did decades ago. And just to be clear, that the contract itself is part of something called the Information Advantage Enterprise Program. And honestly, I think the name explains itself pretty well. The goal is to help military commanders make better decisions faster than the enemy. And I want you to imagine you're pulling information from satellites, drones, cyber sensors, military intelligence, and frontline troops. Then you're combining all of that into one unified picture. And instead of looking at dozens of disconnected systems, leaders can quickly understand what's happening across the battlefield. And that is what information advantage is really about. So another term that comes up is multi-domain operations. Years ago, each military branch operated more independently. Now, today, everything needs to work together, because if Army Cyber Command, if they detect a threat, that information may need to immediately reach the Air Force, the Navy, Space Force, or another command. And Corvus helps develop technology that allows all of those different organizations to communicate and share information much more efficiently. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is the term LCATs. You can find it right here in the due diligence thread that Mo did put. Again, link in the description below for the CTM Discord. But LCAT simply stands for labor category. And to put it in simple terms, to make it easy to understand, is think of it like a restaurant menu. But instead of ordering food, the government is ordering specialized labor. This specialized labor that I'm talking about Specifically, I'm mentioning cyber engineers, network engineers. I'm also talking about program managers, data analysts, and each position has predetermined qualifications, experience requirements, and billing rates. So Castellum doesn't simply receive a $23 million check. They earn revenue as qualified employees perform work under those approved labor categories. And that's another reason why these contracts generate revenue over time instead of all at once. Now, another thing that caught my attention came directly from Castellum's SEC filings because management tied executive incentive bonuses to performance goals that include approximately $63.8 million in annual revenue and more than $1.1 million in adjusted EBITDA. Shows it right here. And I want to make it clear that this does not mean they'll automatically hit those numbers, but it does give investors some insight into what management believes is an important part for the performance target of fiscal year 2026. And last but not least, what I want to talk about is their backlog and pipeline, because at the end of the first quarter, Castellum approximately reported $273 million in their backlog, along with roughly $938 million worth of pipeline opportunities. Now, please remember that pipeline isn't guaranteed revenue. The company, it still has to win those opportunities, but it gives investors an idea of the size of the market that they are pursuing. So let me make sure there's nothing else that I want to talk about. Oh, sorry, there is one more thing I want to talk about. It's regarding their recent wins, because since Q1 ended, the company's joint venture earned a position on the Navy's $250 million LIIS contract vehicle. We have talked about that before. And recently, SSI announced the $4 million ADMAX subcontract, and we've continued seeing different subsidiaries execute across multiple defense programs. And each announcement by itself might not send the stock soaring, but together they help build the longer-term growth story. So now I'm certain that that's the last thing I want to cover. So in closing, guys, let me know what it is you think about Castellum CTM. Let me know if you're excited for the Q2 earnings report that's coming up. And let me know what it is you want to see in future upcoming videos. But with that being said, guys, stay safe, keep making good decisions with your long-term portfolios, and I'll see you on the next video. InvestQ out.